And now I'm delighted to introduce Paulo Dantas from Troika, who has kindly agreed to moderate this panel discussion on staying safe with AI.
This is quite an interesting topic, quite a hot topic at the moment. I think we've been talking a lot about AI, and I mean, whatever conference you go, there will be AI this and AI that. But I think seldom do we actually talk about safety and what it means for teaching and what it means for learning. Um, so I think we'll be having a bit of an introduction from both Ian and Vicky.
I am waiting for questions. Hi, everybody. Happy to
Okay,
be here.
fantastic. So I've got my deck of questions right here, right in
All
front of
right.
me. So Vicky, why don't we start with you? I think coming out of the classroom and all, how do you think that teachers can sort of like balance AI assisted learning? While at the same time trying to maintain student agency and critical thinking and authentic language production. Because I mean, we got bits of language now that we look at, it's like, that's not exactly
Yeah.
student made or
Produced.
100% student. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a couple of things that we as teachers we need to be looking at, and what I saw happening in my classrooms. One thing is that students are using AI outside of the classroom, whether we want it or not. So that's already happening. So it would be, for me, very irresponsible to turn a blind eye to that and say, well, I'm not going to use AI, but students are still using AI. So I think the wisest thing to do is to, and Jo is here, and I'm sure she'll think the same, but it has to be AI literacy, probably from an early age. And then what I would discriminate is when would you have learners start using AI themselves. But learning about AI, I think it should start early on. And once the students are faced with the issues of bias and data privacy and copyright and lots of other things that are going on related to AI, and also trying to show them a way to use AI, which is not a shortcut to their own learning, because I think that's the problem when they start doing too much of an outsourcing of brain thinking, of their own thinking, and leaving it to AI to decide. Lots of things here, but the teacher should be the facilitator of that discussion. And in order to get the learners to understand what's at stake, I guess.
Thanks, Vicky. That's quite interesting. And welcome, Jo.
Hi, everyone.
I think we started a minute early,
Yeah,
and I know
I
that you
didn't.
joining last minute. So, yeah, welcome.
Sorry, I was actually thinking I'm coming early, but you already
No,
started.
it's fine. It's fine. You joined right on time, and I think it was the perfect timing because I think with your classroom experience as well, it would be interesting to hear your thoughts before we switch to Ian giving an industry perspective in terms of like how do we ensure that student agency is still there while embracing this whole AI framework.
Oh, that's such a good question. Thanks, Paulo. And I'm sorry, Vicky, that I missed most of what you said
No,
when I
I
joined.
had just started. Don't worry.
Literally,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm I just want to share a recent experience because I actually started a new class yesterday. It's an online EAP course. It's academic English for teenagers who want to study at foreign universities later. So they are around 16 or 17, and it's online and it's about essay writing. So of course, well, it's obvious they are going to use ChatGPT. So I thought we could do an AI code of conduct on our first occasion, just to see what they think. Let's clarify everything. Let's see where we're standing. And so far, I'm actually pleased with their approach and their thoughts. We created a collaborative document. It was all about like what they can do and what I can do and what they mustn't do and what I mustn't do. And they were like, yeah, we should definitely double check every single answer, but we can use it for brainstorming. And you, teacher, you shouldn't grade our work with AI. And I just asked them, oh, so why not? And they were telling me that, well, we know it's unreliable, so we don't want our grades or points to be affected. You can give us feedback, like written feedback with the help of AI, but please don't grade us. And to see this, it seemed like they are already aware of so much and they know how this can be used. And I gave them a writing task in class, in the online class. And I asked them, please, I know you could, but please don't use AI now. I just want to see what you're capable of. And based on how they were typing into the little boxes in a Google document, I could sort of assume that they were probably not using ChatGPT for this. And it seems they kind of understood the point, which I'm very, very happy about, that if they get the point, and I think that's the most important thing here, motivation, intrinsic motivation, and understanding the point of what we're doing here, if they get that, they aren't not that likely to use AI because they know that they're cheating themselves. And that's all about this kind of what's the point of learning? What's the point of education in general?
It's interesting. I want to lift just one thing that you said about students not trusting AI for assessment.
Grading.
Yes.
And I'm lifting that, and then I'm throwing that at Ian, whose opinion I'm very curious to learn.
Let's talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, interesting. I very much like what you're saying, Joe, about there being a compact between the learner and the teacher, that if the learning is genuinely going to happen, then which is the contract the teacher has with a learner anyway, then there has to be an open discussion about how these tools are used. And so I'm all for that open discussion. I very much agree with Vicky that we can't exist in a silo and pretend that ChatGPT hasn't happened and that in fact it's evolving very quickly. And so we as educators have to look at what it can do, look at what our learners are exposed to, and think about what challenge does that lay down for us as educators. And sometimes have that discussion with our learners. So because they will have ideas too. I'm not sidestepping the question about assessment. We don't trust AI to do assessment. So I work for Avalane, which is an ed tech provider. So a lot of the learning platforms that publishers of like Spark Learning and Richmond Learning Platform are built by us. We aren't sanctioning AI for assessment. And we don't think it's reliable enough yet. We do think that it's got real use in provision of feedback, as long as the teacher is in a remediating position. And you're probably going to hear me bang on about this a lot during this session, but making sure that we have a role for the teacher in whatever products AI products we create is really important. And it may be only that the teacher is using the AI tool in front of class so that the teacher can remediate as the tool is being used. That can be one way in which the teacher is remediating. It could be that you're using AI to create materials that are then used in class, but the teacher has an opportunity to remediate. But the problem with assessment and grading is there's no opportunity for the teacher to understand how that grading has been reached. And so we at the moment don't see it as an option. We think it will come, but it will have to go through many, many more rounds of piloting and careful development before we should be trusting it. So that's our advice to publishers, and so we don't think it'll be used in assessment for in the very near future, unless teachers are using it perhaps with a little bit too much trust. So we would advise against it. So policies for schools on how these tools should be used are really crucial.
I agree.
Yeah, it's sorry. It's interesting to see that the human in the loop, concept is really important. I mean, human-centered AI. It's like you cannot just leave it to AI to make the decisions. I mean, you can use AI, but the ultimate decision needs to be human, I guess. And that's a good starting point.
But what came to my mind is that now we're having agentic AI, and that's entering the sphere and the industry, and I'm so interested in it and what it can do, but how it's going to affect this whole human in the loop issue, because it's a great idea to keep the human in the loop, but with agentic AI we could remove the human, and then
but still with agentic AI, I guess that these agents are created by a person for a very specific purpose. And so the human in the loop is designing that use of AI, which is totally different from using ChatGPT. And then if we go into grading and why it's unreliable, and on plagiarism detection and AI detection, and on why it's unreliable, I think agentic AI in that sense is a bit different, because it can be trained on specific data and with a given purpose. And so in that sense, it might be a solution.
Yeah. If you're right, like, because a human designs it, but what if, because these agents can be reused and reapplied by other teachers who, so as long as you know that, okay, I designed it and I may have to adjust it, but what if somebody takes my agent and then they don't know, they just put 100% trust into it?
Absolutely. Well, as a rule of thumb, you cannot trust AI 100% on anything.
Exactly.
And so there's again a role for policy on use, but also this, I will go on, another thing that I will always talk about is piloting. So teachers have to become, in this very difficult phase where we have immature products that are evolving very rapidly, and even the underlying technology is evolving rapidly. So most of these products are based on models that are themselves evolving. It's really important that teachers, that educators and us as developers are constantly piloting, checking our assumptions before we expose learners to an experience, make sure we've seen that it is reliable in delivering that experience. So there's a crucial role for that, and I think there are other things that we as developers can do, but I don't want to hijack this particular. I can see Paulo is itching to ask another question.
It was I thought it was interesting that the three of you used the word trust quite a few times, right? And of course, if you trust something, you're relying on it. Now, considering both teachers and students, what do you see as potential risks of over trusting or over relying on AI tools in general?
I would, if I could go ahead, I would pick
Please,
students over reliance, even though they seem to know that they shouldn't rely on it. It's like they still go to ChatGPT and they say, okay, I asked ChatGPT what to do in this case or that case. So it now seems to be the first step, and not like I'm Googling the answer, I'm ChatGPTing the answer. And even though they seem to mistrust or like put I don't know, question AI in general, when it comes to specific questions, they still ask ChatGPT, and then if it says something, So I think my worry is that they might just accept that answer as it is. So like, and it's not necessarily like who was the best president in the world, but something like, should I, or how should I, I'm just looking around this classroom I'm sitting in, like, how should I unscrew a door handle? And these things, so they probably know that I'm not going to trust ChatGPT's answer on some kind of factual information, but how to do this, how to do that, should I eat this or should I not eat this? And they might trust its assistance and responses on that, and that could be dangerous.
Yeah,
but that's my guess.
Yeah, I do think that there is a tendency for learners to be over relying on AI and not truly understanding the risks or the how AI actually works. Because if you know how it works, you know you need to double check. So I don't know. I think it can also happen to teachers. I think many teachers are also over relying on it. And what I think is that the more you know about something, the better use you can make of AI helping you with that. Meaning you have a system to double check yourself. You already know when something like, I don't know, I ask ChatGPT to create a lesson plan. And the moment I see it, I go like, oh, this is not going to work. Or this part is too long, or this section should be in a different order, or this is not going to work for my students. Because so one thing that ChatGPT tends to do is to create PPP lesson plans, for example, unless you tell it to do something different. And then it will try to do it. But if you don't, it will default to PPP. Yeah. And many teachers will not even question that. They will say, okay, I've got a plan from ChatGPT, I'm going to do that. So the more you know about something, I think it's where you can benefit more from AI.
Can I add something to that? Sorry, Ian. Can I just quickly just add something? I just remembered like this part, Vicky, you said about like, if you know, like the more you know about a topic, the more you can question AI's responses. So it's just a recent example. I was trying to figure out how to solve my house's insurance, and I was asking ChatGPT, so how do you value your house? What do you need to take into account? And it actually, so I know how to use AI, and ChatGPT also responded in this tentative manner that, oh, insurance companies tend to look at this, tend to look at that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to call the insurance company. And I asked, oh, how do you calculate the size of the house? And they said the exact opposite of what ChatGPT said. Exactly. So I was like, I have no idea.
I think it also has to do with, there are some things that are very culturally related. So they are different in different countries. Laws are different in different countries. Probably how insurance is calculated might be different in different countries. So unless you specifically say, and it has the information of that, because if it doesn't, it's just going to hallucinate and tell you something just to fill it in, because, you know, AI's ultimate goal is to please you. So even if it doesn't know, it's going to give you an answer.
But it didn't really give bad answers, and it kept hedging. So like it tends to be like that. It tends to be like that. Still, it wasn't true, and I couldn't check it because you cannot really find this information anywhere.
No, it's very obscure where it's coming from.
Yeah, I mean, one thing AI will never do is tell you what it needs to know in order to achieve the answer as accurate in as accurate a format as possible. So although it's a chat, if you think about it, it's very rare that you ask ChatGPT something and it says, well, I can give you an answer to that if you give me these 5 pieces of information. And so one of the roles that we think we have as technology providers is guiding the creation of the use of AI.
The
So
interactions, yes.
providing generators, for instance, that that ask the teacher, well, which methodology are you using?
Exactly.
Where are you teaching? What are the age of your learners? We tend to make assumptions that the AI will know where we are teaching from, or
Yeah.
what methodology we're teaching with. And sometimes it's useful to be prompted we need prompting to give
Yeah,
the
I
AI.
sometimes says that in order to prompt effectively, we need to tell the AI what we want, and sometimes we don't even know what we want.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And there's another example that we think is a challenge is CEFR leveling. So most AI tools will say that they will, either grade level a piece of text, or that they will create a lesson plan to achieve a certain CEFR level on a given grammar point, whatever it is. And in truth, CFR leveling, as we all know, is much more complex than that. It's to do with what you're trying to achieve and what the learner's context is, as well as all of these other things. So CFR leveling is a real challenge, and I think we should be looking for tools that are really grappling with that challenge.
Yeah.
When we are procuring products, we should be thinking about, well, hold on, is it really grappling with some of these complex questions? Is it guiding me sufficiently to avoid some of these problems? And then we could get on to security and ethics. Is it addressing security? Does it have that built in? Are they thinking about this properly? Those are the challenges for us as providers.
Well, which is quite an interesting point, and that's actually my next question to especially to you, but open to both Vicky and Joe as well. I think before we started playing around with building our own agents to do specific stuff, most people wouldn't really think of like uploading any sensitive information anywhere, right? But now, of course, because you know that the more information you provide to any tool, the more refined the outcome is likely to be. Then there is this almost like burning
Temptation.
desire to the temptation of like uploading as much as you can. But of course, quite a lot of that information might be very, very sensitive. Sometimes it's students' personal information or just proprietary data in general. What is your advice here?
Who's that addressed to? All of us?
To all of
To
us.
you.
Why don't you start since you asked the question?
I mean, I can tell you how we're going about it. I think one thing that we are always conscious of is guardrails. So Teachermatic, this product that we've created for teachers to create content and to generate feedback on student assignments. A good example of what you're saying, Paulo, is when it's very tempting to upload your students' assignments. And if you're bulk uploading a class, how do you differentiate between the students? Well, you say who those students are. So we have to think ahead of time. Well, we know you're going to want to do that, but number them, and then we strip out any mention of names in the upload using Microsoft Azure. It's good for doing that. So the providers can do a lot. They can in the interface remind wherever there's an upload, remind teachers of the main ways that they might breach student data sharing and so on, or indeed their own, or their institutions.
Exactly.
Providing the IP of an institution, for instance. So we can spot those places in guardrail, and then there are things we can do technically. So even when those breaches happen, we would return, for instance, the feedbacks in an enumerated format, rather than, so it would say you at the first submission, the second submission, and the third submission. So the teacher can go back and look at the sequence they submitted. So there are things we can do, but this is not this is not a perfected science. We are working month by month designing ways to achieve this. So again, we always say, for teachers to pilot, check, use it, get used to it, develop your own practices and your own guidance within the institution. We think that we're pretty good, but we're not the only providers out there. So yeah. Sorry, I went on.
No,
No, that
lovely.
was you got me thinking. Yeah, Vicky, go ahead.
Well, I do think this is a huge problem because, first of all, data privacy is one thing. And as you said, it's not just the students' data, it's the institutional data, the teachers' data, and things you might inadvertently share that shouldn't be shared. On the other hand, it's also copyright, because you are uploading somebody else's work. And as a teacher, for example, you say, okay, I'm going to upload this text that is copyrighted because it's from a textbook you are using. So I'm going to upload that to create materials. But there's copyright on that. So you shouldn't do that. But I think many teachers are still doing it. So I think it's a very complex issue. In terms of data privacy, for students, well, for example, in primary, when I was teaching in primary, I wouldn't let my students use AI directly. I mean, there's no way I'm going to let them use AI directly. If I thought of a learning experience where AI could help, what I would do is I would use it myself and project it on my screen, on the classroom screen, and we could interact together and decide what to ask and analyze the results together. But the students wouldn't be in direct touch with the technology. And I think that should stand for under 13s. And then for secondary school, 13 to 18s, well, parental consent should always be there. And then, of course, choosing the right tools, which still is a huge thing. It's easy to say you need to choose the right tool, but where is there a ranking of tools and ranking based on what? And it's very, very complex.
It is very complex. Go for it, Joe.
I cannot add anything else. I completely agree. I just know from a teacher's perspective, I know that yes, teachers will definitely upload everything they can, because the other problem here is that, and that's the same with environmental protection, actually, that it's just me. It's just one page. It's just half a page. Come on, it's just who's going to see this? Who's going how is it going to get out there?
450-page PDF. Nobody's gonna know.
Yeah, exactly.
Who cares?
It's true. Can I just add to that, actually, Paulo, because this is interesting, because I see it from the publisher's perspective.
Yeah.
Publishers have always known that the photocopier is used occasionally by errant teachers. And that is, it's somewhat tolerated, it's somewhat built into the model. However, this is a new thing. This is a new form of, and the temptation is even greater, you could say, with AI than it was with the photocopier. And one of the things that publishers are now doing is that they are talking to providers like us about using textbooks and teachers' books to guide the output of the AI. So this is something that you will see starting to come out quite soon in products, where you'll be able to use something like Teachermatic to generate lesson plans, worksheets, and all of the other materials. And you'll be able to ask it to generate that material tied to a given course. So publishers know that this is a direction of travel. And so they have to find a way to make this useful and to contain it within a product, rather than it being something that's happening in the Wild West of staff rooms and so on. So it's an interesting area for us and something we're working very hard on at the moment.
So in other words, Ian, what you're saying is, as content providers, we need to kind of like take, hold of the steering wheel here and drive, being we need to be the driving force and not just like the vacuum of the market happening.
Exactly,
Right?
in exactly the same way as we started this conversation with Vicky's point that we can't pretend that AI isn't there. Publishers can't pretend that AI isn't there and isn't going to tempt people to use their IP in ways that they'd never considered before.
Well, I think we might have come full circle here, and I want to address Michelle's question in the chat, which is we've been discussing the use of AI by teachers and students as learning tools. But then what is our role as teachers? To teach students how to use AI safely from a young age? Or is there a way of doing that? Should we be perhaps teaching this as an extension of digital literacy skills?
Yeah. Joe?
I agree. I completely agree. Actually, I read an article recently that the Hungarian government wants to introduce AI in the curriculum from year one. And then, of course, there was outrage. I just saw the social media post and all the comments, people saying, well, what about our poor kids? And like, we cannot make them use AI. And that wasn't the point. They are trying to introduce AI literacy into the curriculum. And it's still something that the entire population of the world needs to understand, that teaching AI can mean several things. Like, we can teach the use of AI tools, but we can also teach AI literacy without the tools. So teaching about deep fakes and data privacy and what to ask, what not to ask, what to share, how to respond to fake images, fake news. That's all part of digital and media literacy skills. So I would definitely introduce it as early as possible. Of course, at an age-appropriate level.
Yeah, the Ecuadorian government has already passed, has a program to introduce AI even from kindergarten. I think for 5-year-olds, of course, not to use AI, to learn about AI. And to start distinguishing what is AI and what is not, what is AI and what is human, in a game-like environment. And they have a whole program with all the skills that should be taught at different grade levels. And it's quite interesting. But when I read about that at the beginning, I had the same reaction, like, kindergarten? Are you mad?
But just as a bit of an anecdote here.
About AI literacy.
Go ahead, Vicky.
No, I mean, it's AI literacy, not using AI.
That's quite an interesting question. Just as a bit of an anecdote, I was the other day I was doing a quiz with it was like a game night sort of thing with authors and editors, and we did a game on trying to decide whether something had been written by a person or by AI. And well, someone thought Scott Thornbury was AI. So there you go. Sometimes it's challenging, even for us, isn't it?
Yeah, there are lots of studies about that have been done, trying to see whether AI can distinguish between human and AI, and whether humans can distinguish between human and AI, and both make mistakes. So
yeah. Understanding the rules and regulations are quite, and it's quite important. As Ian said, we need to have clear policies, right?
Yeah.
As we're about to wrap up, can I ask you to do a final statement on whatever's crossing your mind right now?
What's crossing my mind? I'm still gonna say that I love using AI because it makes content generation quicker, idea generation quicker. But since I know what to do with the output, I don't find it hard to make decisions when to use it, when not to use it. So yeah, that's the importance of knowing what to do with, what to ask and what to do with what you get.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's very simple. You cannot teach about something you don't know about. So you need to learn about AI yourself, and you need to try it, and you need to see what it can do and test it before you can even have an opinion on it. And then maybe you are in a position to be able to teach your learners about AI and then use it yourself.
Fantastic.
Yep. And I guess I'd just say I would echo both of those points. I'm very excited about the use of AI. I think it will. We already know from research that that AI is saving teachers a lot of time where it's being used effectively for some of the more repetitive tasks. And it's also a good first point of creativity, so it can spark ideas. We know that it's doing great things, but we would never allow a voice to speak in our classrooms that if you think about the traditional classroom, you'd never allow someone into your classroom to speak to your children that you hadn't vetted in advance. And that, I think, is something we just need to carry forward in the use of AI.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, Ian, Joe, Vicky, thank you so much. I mean, it's we could probably go on for quite some time, but I think we do have some time restrictions here before Michelle just switches off. But thank you very much. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend, and I guess that will be over to them.
To me. So thank you very much, Paulo. Hi, Vicky. Hi, Joe. Hi, Ian.
Hi.
Thank you very much for this panel. It is the topic of the moment. We cannot ignore that, but definitely we need to keep on talking about it with more depth so that we can understand how to better operate in this new world that's coming up, right? And how to better prepare our children and teenagers to deal with that, because this is very new for us, but for them, that's part of their life already, right? At some point, they will look back and they will know no life without AI, especially for the younger ones. So yeah, we do need to get them ready. Thank you very much.